So I am joined by Randy Wade, the father of one Shaun Wade, and what we think is going to be a first-round draft selection in the upcoming NFL draft. Defensive back out of Ohio State that could have gone in last year's NFL draft, but chose to return to play a season that does not necessarily look like it's going to happen, except Mr. Wade is not going to take this one lying down. How you doing, Mr. Wade?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm glad you had me on, man.
No, I appreciate you. So, you come across my desk because you are planning to fly up to the Big Ten Conference office to try to figure out what's what. And I'm actually interested in that because I felt like the first job of the conference would have been the first job of the coaches, which is to communicate with you, the parents of the players, what's going on. And it doesn't sound like you have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, to say any idea, that'd be stretching it too far.
Okay.
But basically what we want to do is we want to not only find out what's the reasons, the exact information they got that's stopping the season, but we want to start a conversation to help the process of when can we start back the season. Because a lot of things that they say that we feel they say it's going to stop the season, it's going to still be here next year. Mm-hmm. So we don't want our kids to go through the same thing this year as they may go through next year. That's one of the reasons.
What are some of the reasons that you thought it was necessary to actually travel to Illinois from Florida?
Started like 2 weeks ago talking to the coaches, constantly talking to Shaun every day, preparing him for whatever may happen. And then it just kind of ended with the Justin Fields situation, for him to reach out on his own and do that petition. I'm like, man, what can a parent do or a dad do, more importantly, to just really help out the situation? And I thought about this to put more pressure on them to give more information and kind of go from there.
What has the response been like to you letting everybody know what you're planning to do?
It's been good, but it's kind of crazy because, the stuff going on with the Snook guy, I don't know his first name.
Jeff Snook. Jeff Snook.
Going on, yeah, Jeff Snook. Going on with Gene Smith and all that kind of stuff. And the people who actually reaching out to me, it's kind of like a similar thing. It's kind of like the same teams. And it's like the people who have shut it down, it's like their fan base and fans have shut it down also. It's really weird.
What do you want to see changed?
First of all, we wanted just them to push everything back, get more information. How many things can you do in a weekend? Can you do what's it called, a thesis in a weekend? I guess some people can or whatever. But so everything was moving forward. They got this information about the heart and the long-term information. I guess somebody got sick at Indiana. First of all, I want to say pandemic is terrible. I mean, football is nowhere near important in people's lives. But it's a safe way to do things. So every day through time, different technological things have been coming out to help people around this virus. And 2 weeks from now, things could be totally different from what's going on now. So originally, we just wanted him to kind of push things back. I wanted him to push things back. And then secondly, I want to know some of the things that he might complain about or not feel is safe right now, what's going to change in the spring. That's all. Just communication.
Do you think that Shaun would play in the spring?
No, I know he ain't going to play in the
spring. Okay.
No.
Hey, look, I don't want to assume. I want to ask.
No. Ain't no way in the world he playing in the spring. He wouldn't play in the spring. No, for nobody. If we don't play in the fall, we're done.
Well, and that was part of the reasoning that I thought was interesting in that Shaun, Jonathan Cooper, Justin Fields, a number of other guys, I count at least 10 draft-eligible starters that all want to play college football at Ohio State, which is really interesting because I've seen at least one or two guys be hesitant or even choose to opt out of playing this season, especially if they expect to be first-round draft picks like your son, and yet it seems like all the dudes wearing scarlet and gray have decided, nah, this is what we want to do, and we're not ready to say that we're not going to play until somebody actually starts a season and starts playing. And even then, I mean, I don't know that I could see the Big Ten reversing its decision, but it feels like you still got some time here to try to, one, figure out what anything might look like if there's some version of football that could be played in the fall, and two, what is the conversation going to be for the spring? Because we got Jeff Brom out here with his plan. We have a few other places that are thinking about what they want to do, but they don't actually have any answers to give to you. And yet still, I don't see them having much to say, perhaps until November or December on this deal, which means that you're looking at really ruining, I think, the Big Ten's reputation more than perhaps it should be, because I think it's a football conference, right? But the idea,
it definitely is. It's one of the best.
right?
Yeah, go ahead.
But that said, the conversation has become Big Ten does not care about football. You think that's fair?
No. I think the Big Ten has mansions, and I hate to say this, but trailer parks. It's what I mean by that is when it comes to football, it has mansions and trailer parks. I'll just leave it at that. It's very top heavy. They got some big dogs in the whole nation, but they do have some colleges that football is not that important, or the safety of the kids. Everything you have to do to keep the kids safe. Some schools are not willing to do it. Some schools are not willing to sacrifice like other schools are. That's just it's life. That's how it is.
No, I get that. Everybody's got their big fish and their little fish in their conferences, because that's the way it's always going to be. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't. What is going to be acceptable to you when you get to the Big Ten conference office? What are they going to be able to tell you to make you feel better?
The biggest thing is and I don't need to feel better. I'm good. I'm a grown man. I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
I don't need to feel better. I just need conversation. And it's not to me. It's not to me. Shaun is good. Shaun could have went first round last year. I'm good. But I know what it takes to be at the level that the Big Ten players are at. I know how hard they had to work since 5 years old. I know how hard it was for these COVID restrictions and for them to have to sacrifice and not talk to people. I just want to do everything I can in my ability to say, hey, I gave it my best. So it's not nothing they have to say to me. It's something they say to these parents. These kids know exactly the reason why they're not playing, and they need to know what steps and what things have to happen for them to get back on the field eventually. If it's 3 years from now, they need to know, okay, you said this needs to happen, now it happened 3 years from now, and that's what we're going to play. You're not keeping it transparent. We don't know what president said no. We think we do, but we don't know. We don't know if they voted. We think some of us think we do, but we don't know. We don't know none of that. We just know they said no. So in the spring, the same thing can happen. So as a dad, you're a dad, right?
Yes, I'm a stepdad.
Oh, that's a dad, bro. You're good, bro.
Okay,
That's a dad.
okay.
So as a dad, one of the biggest things that you're gonna want to do is not get your child disappointed in something that he can't control. We can control this with a little bit of fight. Just find out, hey, we're not playing in the fall. What things we got to do to play in the spring? Because at the end of the day, you don't want your kids to have to go through the same feeling in the spring when you just sat back at the house and didn't do anything. Just fight.
Amen to that. I want to ask you this. What is something about Shaun that you know that not enough people know?
Shaun is an introvert. Like he's a homebody. When he gets to know you, he'll know everything and talk about everything. He wants to be the show. He wanted to show this year that he was a top outside corner. The reason I hate to say this because I love Akuda and Arnett, but the reason he didn't play outside had nothing to do with him not being the best outside. It had more to do with him being the best inside. That's just my opinion. That's not Shaun's opinion. And he's just a hard worker, man. Everybody who really knows him, they always say, he's a great kid. I should be very proud to be his dad.
Very cool. Mr. Wade, you got a podcast. Where can we listen to that?
Okay, I have a podcast called Daddy's Ball, and what I do is interview, on Daddy's Ball podcast, I interview trainers, I interview coaches, high state coaches too. I interview players, and basically, and parents, mostly. And what we do is we talk about their experience, coming up and the things they did wrong and right to help other people. The problem with all of this, what's going on right now, is parents are separated. They don't communicate. So one parent that make a mistake in the recruiting process, and you know what's going to happen next year, the next parent going to make the same mistake because we put everything into a bucket because we don't want people to know. I just got off the phone with Wyatt Davis, and I talked about what's going on right now. I talked about if they were to go to the league, what are his agents telling him if they were to do that, and we talked about my stuff. Like, we have to do that on a national level because we're making the same mistakes. The coaches, the agents, all this stuff, I'm keeping it real. It's just really a game to them because they're going to tell you the same thing they're going to tell somebody else. And because y'all not talking, y'all not going to know that he's telling you that. So the podcast is really informative. It's about giving information back so you don't make the same mistakes we did. And also I have a YouTube channel called 10-4 YouTube show. And I have Jalen Ramsey's dad on it. I have Michael Parsons' dad. I have Kevin Tolliver's dad. I have a dad, Frankie Robb. His son plays at Alabama. And what we do is we bring guests on sometimes. But we have like 10 questions that we discuss with 4 people. And when we discuss those questions, we just kind of give you our experience of what we did, kind of like the podcast, but with a little bit more entertainment to it.
Very cool. I tell people all the time, I go through recruiting 200 times a year. Most people get to go through it one time if they're lucky. So I appreciate what you're doing, Mr. Wade, trying to build awareness and give people the information that they need to build so that we can make this process a little bit more transparent and a little bit more collaborative. That's Randy Wade. Subscribe to the Daddy Ball podcast and the 10-4 on YouTube. Mr. Wade, thank you so much for taking time, sir.
Man, thanks, man. Your show is awesome, man. I always watch. I don't know when you started, but I've been watching. So keep doing what you're doing.
I will, Mr. Wade. Thank you so much, sir.